I will chant the opening prayer. Om Bhadram Karnebhye Shrunuyama Devaah Bhadrang Pasya Makshabhiryajatraah Sthirairangaye Stuštubhagam Sastanubhih Vyasema Devahitam Yadayuh. O gods, may we hear auspicious words with the ears. May we see auspicious things with the eyes while engaged in actions. May we live this life raising it to the spiritual level of the holy ones. Om peace, peace, peace be unto all. We are reading the Mandukya Upanishad. This is our WebEx class number 3 on this Upanishad or holy book. I would like to recapitulate, that means remember, a few points from our last 19th April class. There are 12 mantras in the Upanishad proper, and there are 225 karikas. A commentary in verse form is called karika. Karikas are written by Gaudapada, the guru of Shankaracharya's guru Govindapada. This Upanishad with Karika has 4 chapters. This Upanishad gives realization of at least 4 things. Number 1, who we really are. Number 2, what value this relative world has in relation to our existence. Number 3, what our duties or dharma and rights, adhikara, would be in this world. And number 4, what way we will be able to realize our own self, which is the purpose of our life. How does it do it? What is the approach of this Upanishad that we discussed? It does it in 2 parts. The first 7 mantras do Atma Vichara, analysis of the 3 states of our being: waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. It describes these 4 aspects: waker and waker's world, dreamer and the dreamer's world, the sleeper and its world. And the 4th is Turiya, that is you, the consciousness. Atma Vichara or self-analysis means analyzing who is the real me. Why do I do this? The answer is, once I do this, I will be out of all suffering. Our suffering actually belongs to the 3 states. Then the second way it does it, the 5 mantras of the Upanishad deal with Omkara Vichara or meditation on Om. Omkara simply means Om. Omkara means Om. It is the primordial or original sound or the Vedic sacred sound. According to Hindu creation theory, time-space is the first created matter. This space has a quality which is sound. Om sound is an unstruck sound. It is not created by the friction of two things. That is why it is called anahata dhvani, unstruck sound. What is the real meaning of Om? It is the means or a technique to realize what has been said in the first chapter of this Upanishad. Now we will look at the Atma Vichara in short. Let us add one more step to the discussion we had last time. I would be those who are able to see me, please look at this sentence. I am holding a piece of paper, A4 size paper. Please look at this sentence. I have written here, I know that I know an apple. The sentence is, I know that I know an apple. How many I are there? Two. I know that I know an apple. So two I's are there. How many no are there? Two. Now let us remember that the first I is the Atman, the Atman or the self. The second I is the ego. The sentence is, I know that I know an apple. So let me now explain this. Is it speaking of the same I? It has got two I. Is it speaking of the same me? That means I. How many clauses are there in this sentence? Two. The principal clause, I know, and the subordinate clause, that I know an apple. The second knowledge is the knowledge of the first one. The first no knows the second no, and the second no may not know the second no. So first I is the self, second I is the ego, and second no in the subordinate clause is the knowledge of this world, and the first no in the principal clause, I know, that no is the knower of the second no. Now let me go into details. The first knower I am the knower of the second knower I, and the first know is the validation of the second knowledge. Now let me go into a bit further. The word know has been used here two times. First in the principal clause and second time in the subordinate clause. The meaning is that it is my positive knowledge that I know an apple. That I know an apple is my knowledge. So there are two knowledges. 'The' 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 'The in the subordinate clause is dependent for its validity. Please remember this. The second know or second knowledge is dependent for its validity on the first knowledge in the principal clause. This first knowledge of the principal clause is an independent or not dependent knowledge. So second know is dependent on the first know. Similarly, second I is dependent on the first I for their validation. That means the know in the dependent clause, that I know an apple, has a subject, that it is I, and an object, an apple. In the second sentence, subject is I, object an apple. So in the second clause, the object is dependent on its subject. An apple is dependent on its knower or eater, whatever it may be. And both of them are dependent on the earlier sentence, I know. So therefore, the subject in the second clause and the object both are dependent on the first clause. First knowledge has to be there. I should be there as the witness consciousness to validate the knowledge of I, the ego, the experiencer in this world, the experiencer of this world. Now the equation stands like this. The object apple depends on the subject I, the ego, which in its turn depends on I, the witness consciousness. So the object apple is dependent on its subject I, the ego, which is again dependent on the witness I, the consciousness. Therefore, all the three in the subordinate clause, the subject means I, the verb know, the object an apple, have dependent existence. If you remove the principal clause, they won't have any validity. That clause will not stand. Therefore, I know is more important than that I know the apple. This is the position. What is the word for a dependent existence? We have seen it. It is called mithya or relative or derived reality. Like the example we gave last time, the moonlight. Moonlight is derived from the sun. If there is no sun and there is no sunlight, then there will be no moonlight. So moonlight has dependent existence. And what more, if there is no sun, there will be no moon. Because we all are in the solar system. The moon is also in the solar system. There will be no moon. That is why we should recognize that in reality, moonlight is nothing but sunlight. It is the sunlight that is just appearing in different name and form. That's what we discussed last time. In other words, I, the consciousness, appear as the knower and the known, the subject and the object with different name and form. I included the known. This will be explained in the second part of the first chapter on Omkara Vichara. More later. Yes, more later. Still more is there. Yes, more and much more has to come. I told you that this Upanishad is not telling stories. It is discussing tough stuff. If I cannot make it simple for you, then it is my lack of clarity in this subject. It is not the fault of the Upanishad. We also discussed this point that both the dream and the waking, these two states, are equally mithya, relative. We gave the examples of Sri Ramakrishna's story of the farmer who went to the sleep and who dreamt that he had a big kingdom with all prince and princesses, everything, and he woke up to this waking state reality that his wife informed him that their only son passed away. So he was caught up between these two states, the dream state and the waking state. And the farmer's realization, the Upanishad said, that none of these two states is actually real. They're relative. But the farmer is real. The farmer is the truth. We should not forget that. The dream, deep sleep, and waking state are real experiences of unreal things by you, the experiencer. They are real experiences, but of unreal things. This Upanishad says, Mandukya says, the experiencer, you, the waker, and your waking world, the dreamer and the dream world, the sleeper and the experience of unmanifest or obscure ignorance are one and the same, you and your world. What do we generally understand by this? What do we generally understand by this type of discussion? We understand that suppose Mr. John, suppose I suppose I am Mr. John. Suppose I, Mr. John, am the waker experiencing this world. I, Mr. John, go to sleep in my bed and see the dream world created by my mind. And I, the same John, lying in my bed, go to deep sleep, dreamless sleep, and forget about everything, about the waking world, about the dream world. Mandukya says, if you have understood this, you have misunderstood it. You thought that you are John. Again, you had thought that you are an individual who is different from all other people and things in this world. Then again, you thought that this you, Mr. John, are the conscious experiencer. That is not what we told you, the Upanishad would respond. We told you that you the consciousness, are the experiencer of the body-mind complex called John and John's three world. You are the experiencer of John and John's worlds. You are not John. Now try to remember the example of the gold ring. Gold can be there without the ring and not the other way around. Ornaments cannot remain without gold, but gold can remain without these names and forms called ornaments. Similarly, in this example, you and John are different. You, the consciousness, can be there without John, without being called as John. But John cannot be there if you are not there. Now understand this in this way. This John, and not you the consciousness, this John, not you the consciousness, has three states. This John has three states. Because you, the pure witness consciousness, are different from the body-mind complex known as John. Therefore, you are the witness experiencer of poor John and his states. That is why when you get sorry, that is why when you get out of John, it is John who dies, not you. Like for example, when someone's house is sold out, he or she gets out of the house. They are separate. But as long as people live in their particular houses, they have to suffer from all problems involving the house. Today the tap water has stopped coming. Tomorrow there another tap started leaking. All these things, all these troubles will be there because you are living in the house. These three states thus reveal the underlying consciousness, like the three ornaments revealing the underlying gold. And the fourth principle is called Turiya. As I said last time, this is called fourth by the Upanishad, Chaturtham, and Turiya is the name given by the commentator or Karikakara. This Turiya is not a state. It is the stateless consciousness. It is uncountable because there is nothing or none different from it which can count or which can be counted. It is all. We cannot recognize the existence of anything which cannot be counted as a separate entity. Consciousness or gold in our example cannot be counted as a separate entity with the help of practical reasoning. Therefore, it remains uncountable, and we obviously fail to recognize that it is there. In and through all our activities, in this waking state, in the dream state, everything, in and through all these activities, we forget that we are there, that ever witnessing consciousness. That is the witness consciousness, ever awake, ever watchful. We are summarizing the first chapter. Then I shall present to you a taste of how one should study the Upanishads traditionally. After I finish this summary of the first chapter. Sometimes we ask questions, but before studying the Upanishads, we need to know different philosophical systems. In other words, we need to ask pertinent or relevant questions, not any question. That means we need some preliminary information or knowledge or education or competence about special features of philosophical systems which we may not have. That is why I am trying my best to make it as simple as possible without, of course, compromising or diluting or defeating the purpose of the Upanishad. Mandukya Upanishad says, I, the conscious self or Atman, have got four facets or padas. Prathama pada, first facet, second facet, third facet, and then Turiya. So I have got these four facets. Therefore, I am called a four-faceted Atman, like four different types of faces, masks, four different types of masks. The implied meaning is I can experience myself as it were. I can experience myself in four different planes of awareness. I use the phrase as it were, which implies I am the witness experiencer of the active experiencer. I know that I know an apple. That I know an apple, that is the active experiencer. And I know behind that is the witness experiencer. We know this equation from our analysis of the sentence, I know that I know an apple. I experience my dynamic planes of awareness as an observer, being separate from those planes. The mantra number 7 speaks of the nature of Turiya. That is how I know myself from my own standpoint. This is the subject matter of the modern contemplative psychology. What happens in my brain when I think of myself? Throughout our life, we go on thinking about others. We just think about anything outside ourselves. But what happens in my brain when I think of myself? That is the subject matter of contemplative psychology today. Of course, in this branch of psychology, this idea has been looked at from a psychosomatic viewpoint. I, the witness experiencer of the active experiencer, am known as Turiya or the fourth pada. It is my real nature without the three masks, without the three face masks. The three face masks are waking, dreaming, and deep sleep states. These states are identified and recognized by name, form, and utility. Like the examples of gold ornaments, the bangle, the ring, and the chain. They are different due to their different names, different forms, and their different utilities. What is the status of this name, form, and utility in relation to Atman or the self? Like what is the status of the names, forms, and utility of the three separate ornaments in relation to gold? Are they substance or a property of gold? Are they substance or property of Atman, the self? The Mandukya says that these names, etc., are neither a substance nor a property of gold or Atman. Then what is the relation? Why are they with gold or the Atman? Why they are with them? There could be three types of relations. Cause and effect relation, like the painter and his or her painting. The painter is different from the painting. That is a relation, creator and the created. Then number 2, adjective and noun relation, like blue sky. And 3, A thing and its cover which hides it, like you see a rope as a snake, a stump of a broken tree as a person standing. That means it is a mistake to think of a thing, as something else. That is a mistake. This is called adhyasa or superimposition in this Upanishad. It is very well defined. Or mistaking a thing for something else. We mistake the rope for a snake and we get afraid of a simple innocent rope. The Upanishad says, when in mild darkness, the Mandukya, the Karika says, when in mild darkness we see a rope as a snake, then it is a mistake. The analogy reveals these things, the ideas like this. The snake stands for the Atman. The rope stands for the Atman. The snake for the changeful world. And mild darkness for our ignorance. The rope is, suppose, the Atman. Atman is represented here as rope. This world of changefulness, that is thought of as the snake, and mild darkness is our ignorance. So in mild darkness I see a rope as a snake. I mistake a rope as a snake, and this mistake is called technically superimposition, or mistaking a thing for something else. The superimposed world is as good as not there, as the superimposed snake is as good as not there. That means it is experienced but cannot be permanently relied on. It can be experienced, but that experience can never be the same and can never continue forever. The names and forms of ornaments are there but cannot be relied upon. They cannot stay separately without gold. Similarly, the world cannot be counted along with Atman. Gold or the eye is the truth. The name and form are superimposition or relative, ultimately non-existent. When I know this truth, what do I know actually? I know that the relative experiences cannot affect me ultimately. One Swamiji from a Himalayan ashrama said, this discovery that I am the Atman, not this relative name and form, this discovery does not solve our problem. This discovery does not solve our problem. Rather, it dissolves our problem through the knowledge of the truth. When we wake up from our dream, we do not solve our dream problem. Rather, we dissolve our dream problems, knowing that they need not be solved. Our discovery of ourselves does not solve our problem, but it dissolves our problems. When we wake up from our dream, we do not solve our dream problems. Rather, we dissolve our dream problems, knowing that they need not be solved. They are already solved. We woke up. When I wake up from that dream, I don't need to solve the dream problem of a tiger chasing me. That is dissolved. The tiger is no more there. I need not be afraid of the tiger. I need not run away.
Unmuted.
This is the first part of the first chapter, Atma Vichara, the analysis of the Atman. Then in the last 5 mantras, the Upanishad connects this analysis of Atman with the analysis of Om, Omkara Vichara. This facilitates meditation on this teaching, contemplation. The word Om is divided into 4 matras or components. O, U, M, plus silence. O, U, M plus silence. The Upanishad connects these 4 components with 4 facets of Atman. Matra, pada, pada, matra. So these matras, these facets, these components are equal to the facets. The 3 facets of the Atman, Jagrat, Swapna, Susupti, waking, dream and deep sleep. And here the 3 matras of Omkara, O, Ma, they are relative. And after uttering O, Ma, all these 3, what follows is silence. Silence corresponds to the pure consciousness. When there is silence, what is there? When I say I experienced blankness or non-existence, what do I say? That means the illuminator of the blankness was experienced. We forget about that. Who is the experiencer of this blankness? Actually speaking, absence or non-existence cannot be experienced. Because if you can experience them, then they are not existent. There is no absence. That is why the illuminator of the blankness was experienced, not the other way around. I experienced non-existence. I experienced blankness. I experienced absence. No. If you experience anything, that thing is there. Not absent, not blank, or not non-existent. Then what did I experience? You experienced yourself. There you have to find, you have to catch this I. And this illuminator is the I. Silence means I, the pure consciousness, not associated with name, form, or utility. Let me give you a small example. Suppose you adored a rose flower because of its fragrance. You bring it home and keep it in a flower vase. Next day the flower becomes stale and smells bad. You take out the flower and throw it away. What did you do? You can narrate it this way. Number 1, I liked a fragrant rose and bought it. Number 2, I placed the flower in a vase. Number 3, I enjoyed the beauty and its fragrance. Number 4, I threw away the flower next day because it became stale. It started smelling bad. Now, in these 4 sentences that I have narrated now, we see that there are 2 things which are spoken of. One is I and the second one is rose. I and rose. And all these elaborate narrations can be extended depending on your study of the event. You may say that your friends came, some of them liked the flower, some of them like the fragrance, etc., etc., and what not. You may write an essay, even a book with a catchy title like A Lonely Rose. The title of the book, A Lonely Rose. And this book has been cited in many research papers, articles, and so on and so forth. As a result of the two things, you or I and the rose, I created an ever expanding universe of the rose. Think of this. Of these two things, I and the rose, I created an ever expanding universe of the rose. This is physics. And then the repeating subject, I. Everywhere I said I. I bought the rose, I brought it home, I put in a flower vase. All I. And this I is repeating in all these sentences. And what happens, the more you give narration to the object, more obscured or obscurer becomes this I. This becomes the I. This is obscured. That happens to our eye. That is what Rabindranath Tagore has said. এ সংসারের হাটে, in the marketplace of this world, day in and day out, and we are expanding ourselves this way in this material world. We forget ourselves because we have added more and more things to this rose, and we forgot that I, who is always repeating in all sentences. And that is what is beautifully said in the Bible. The still small voice within. It has been so much obscured, so much covered, so much superimposition has happened. Layers and layers after layers of obscurity. We forgot to look at ourselves. Who am I? This I has become the call of the I, the illumination of the I became fainter and fainter. But it is there, the still small voice within. The Upanishad asks you to pause for a moment and turn your gaze onto the repeating subject in all these sentences inside this book. What actually you have experienced with all these things, you experienced yourself. The rose came and went, but you, my dear, you remained there even before and after the rose came into your life. Actually, you are the subject. So you cannot objectify yourself as an object like a rose. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad asks this question. Oh my dear, by whom the knower can be known? How can you know the knower? If the knower Mr. X is known by Mr. Y, then Mr. Y becomes the knower and Mr. X becomes the object known. If we search for a creator for God, then God will become a creature and become a creature of that creator. This is not possible. So there is the problem. The subject cannot know itself because it does not need to know itself. It does not need to know itself. It is aware that it is the subject. It is aware. It is taken for granted that it is the subject. And that's all. Know that and be free. That is the message of this Upanishad. Know that and be free. The subject cannot know itself because it does not need to know itself. Do I need to know myself? There is nothing more obvious than my own existence to me. There is nothing so sure than my own existence to me. That is why subjects knowing the subject is a very difficult proposition if we have clouded our minds. We have superimposed this ever expanding universe outside on that I. Obscurity went on increasing. This is called superimposition. This Upanishad teaches that. We have to know who we really are. Then we know what value this relative world has in relation to my own existence. Then it will be easy for us to decide what our duties or responsibilities and what our rights would be in this world. And then what way we will be able to realize our own self or the real purpose of our life. And as I said, to repeat just a few points, that the Upanishad does it in two parts. In the first part, it analyzes Atman, means it analyzes, it uncovers, discovers the three covers or layers that we have given on it. The waker's layer, the dreamer's layer, and the sleeper's layer. When we are able to analyze all these three layers, all the three states, then we will be able to see that they do not exist independently. They depend on I, the conscious principle, for their existence. I can be there without them, but they can't be there without me. And knowing this will help us to get rid of our suffering. As the Upanishad has said, we discussed, suffering will be there. Suffering will be there as long as we identify ourselves with the body and its states. Sufferings will be there. That is what in the Upanishads has been explained. If you come out of your dream state, come out of your sleep and you are in the waking state, the suffering you had in the sleep when the tiger was chasing you will not be removed completely. You will know that there was no tiger, but the palpitation that you felt in your sleep will continue for some time. But you will not suffer with that suffering. You know that this is a palpitation created by the appearance of a tiger in my dream. So you won't suffer from that. Though you are still suffering because the blood circulation is going high. Then only you know that our sufferings actually belong to the three states, to the body, to the physical body, to psychological body, and our causal body. So we will suffer as long as we are connected with the body. Someone asked Ramana Maharshi, Sir, people talk about these worlds, heavens, 7 types of worlds above. Are they really true? Maharishi answered, as long as you think that you are the body, they too are real. As long as you think that you are the body, that is a mistake. You are the body. You are not the body. You are different from the body. That is the message this Upanishad is trying to impart to us. So first part is Atma Vichara, analysis of the Atman. Second part of the 5 mantras of the Upanishad does Omkara Vichara, Omkar, Om Vichara. Om has got 4 padas or components. A, U, Ma. I will not elaborate on this because it will come afterwards, and we will see what a great idea this second part will deliver to us. This Om, Omkara Vichara. What is the real meaning of this Om? We will know from the second part of this first chapter. And please try to remember the sentence. I will show it once again to you. I know that I know an apple. I know is the principal clause. There the I is Atman, the self. The know is the knowledge of the next knowledge. First know is the knower of the second know. First I is the validation of the second I. And in the second part of the sentence, that I know an apple, I, the subject, is dependent on I, the subject in the first clause. Know is dependent on the know of the first clause. And an apple is already dependent on I in the second clause, because that is an object in that sentence. So an apple is dependent on the know before it. The know is dependent on I before it. That I is dependent on the principal clause I know. So the right side sentence, that I know an apple, is completely dependent. All the components, the subject, the verb, and the object, they all are equally and more dependent on the first I know. And that is the I, the consciousness, that is you. And that know belongs to you, that is the witness knowledge. And that will be taught in and through all these discussions in the whole Upanishad. Please try to remember this sentence. And everywhere you will be able to connect the great ideas to this small sentence and in 2 different parts. Try to contemplate on that. Try to contemplate on this sentence. Many intricate discussions that has been done in this Upanishad will be easy for you to follow. As I have said, it is a very serious study here, but it is fulfilling. That at the end of the day, the Upanishad will give us realization. Then you don't have to attend these classes anymore. Well, hopefully not. Then we can continue with our satsang and enjoy your company. Thank you very much. Thank you very much once again for your participation. We will end this class chanting Om 3 times. I will let you know a problem with this mechanical system that we are using here. The microphone has a noise cancelling property. So when I am chanting Om, just 1 or 2 seconds after that it cancels my noise. So even if I am chanting it long, you can't hear it. But please continue chanting it. So let us chant it 3 times. Then I have some announcement. Thank you. Om. 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 Namaskar.